Welcome to Facts in 5, a presentation of the Fruitkin Law Firm. We provide our clients with legal services in the areas of business law, asset and estate planning, bankruptcy, and litigation. The Fruitkin Law Firm has office locations in Phoenix and North Scottsdale. You can visit us on the web at www.fruitkinlaw.com.
Hi, my name's John Fruitkin. I'm going to talk a little bit today about Obamacare and how that affects small employers. You know, we have a lot of employer clients here, people who have 8, 10, 15, 20, even hundreds of employees. And so we get calls all the time, how's this going to affect me? Because quite frankly, there's no more complicated piece of federal law that's come out in our lifetimes. So outside of tax law, there's probably nothing as confusing as Obamacare. Now remember, you know, for most people on kind of an individual basis, Obamacare has some nice advantages. It, for example, limits the total amount of profit that a health plan can get, and so there is a limitation so they can't gouge their customers. It also provides that people can get coverage for pre-existing conditions, which frankly is a big challenge in the current healthcare marketplace. It also allows individuals to stay on their parents' plans until they're 26 years old. And so those sort of improvements have been lauded by a lot of people, but when it comes to employers, they're quite concerned about what's going to happen next. In the last couple years, we've seen premiums increase pretty dramatically. Now, of course, they've been going up for the last 20, 30, 40 years, but even as recently as 2008, 2009, that rise had decreased to a lot closer to the rate of inflation. Well, the last 2 years, we've seen them spike dramatically, and so for an employer, that might be an additional liability of 20, 30%, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so the result of Obamacare in the short term is that we've seen increases in premiums. Now, a lot of that, quite frankly, is insurance companies trying to get ahead of the curve and to raise the rates enough, but it's also because there are requirements to Obamacare, like the ones I spoke about before, that are already in effect, like the pre-existing conditions and allowing people to stay on the plan. So, what are kind of the things that are going to happen next? So in the beginning of next year, starting in January, there's going to be healthcare exchanges. And here in Arizona, we're going to have the federal healthcare exchange. Governor Brewer decided after looking at the options that that was the best thing to do. And what a federal exchange is going to permit is for employers to shop for health insurance a lot more easily. Right now, the way that it works is that an employer needs to get a broker and gets prices for various health care plans with different deductibles and different copays. And the result, unfortunately for most employers, is a lot of confusion. I mean, you're not really comparing apples to apples. Does this plan cover this? What doctors are under that plan? And the result is that employers try to make the best decision, but it's not really comparing across the different health care plans the same product. And the healthcare exchanges are intended to correct that. So that's a nice advantage for employers. That'll trickle down to the employees of the employers. And that doesn't matter what size you are. So even individuals will have access to the healthcare exchanges. And so the result of that, hopefully, will be decreased pricing because, of course, there'll be more transparency. But, of course, there are some problems. Now, remember, the employer mandate only affects employers of more than 50 employees. And so the result is that if you do have more than 50 employees, you do need to pay for your full-time employees for the cost of their health care. And so for companies, for our clients who are maybe in retail or restaurant type businesses, this has been a big challenge. One of the things that I've heard a lot is, well, why don't I set up more companies? And they've already thought of that. So you can't set up another company. They look at the controlling person and they kind of pierce the corporate entities. And so if you have multiple locations, you can't just set up multiple companies. You are going to have to pay for health insurance. So the result of that is that there have been employers who have looked at decreasing the number of full-time employees that they'll actually have to cover. Now, for those employers, especially in the retail and restaurant space, this is going to be a challenge. But there is an advantage to smaller employers. So if you have 25 or less employees, you actually get a tax credit for providing insurance to your employees, which didn't exist previously. So on one hand, Obamacare is putting pressure on larger employers, at the same time giving tax relief to smaller employers. Now, a lot of people note that 90% of employers with 50 or more employees already provide health insurance, but there are a number of, especially in the restaurant and retail space, where they don't. So that is going to be a challenge. Now, the kind of bottom line is that you really need to sit down with both your accountant and your payroll company and figure out how this is going to affect you. We represent a number of accountants and a number of payroll companies, so certainly let us know if we can help you. But then you could talk to your lawyer as well about the tax ramifications for you. The bottom line is that there's a lot to like in Obamacare, and there's a lot not to like in Obamacare, and how that affects your particular situation will be different for each of you. So don't hesitate to give us a call if you have follow-on questions about Obamacare, and we do like to hear from you too. So visit our Facebook page and post your thoughts about how it's going to affect you both as an individual and if you're an employer, how you think it's going to affect your company and your employees. Thanks.
Facts in 5 was brought to you by the Fruitkin Law Firm. Facts in 5 is a series of short, general, informational presentations for the public. This is not legal advice. You should contact an attorney with specific questions regarding your particular situation. For more information, visit us on the web at www.fruitkinlaw.com.